In this video, we'll be talking about Trench Crusade and how I made these trench walls to start playing the game. Trench Crusade is a alternate history World War I skirmish miniatures war game created by Mike Francina and Thomas Perina. I hope I got their names right. They are both game design veterans, doing concept art for Blizzard and creating Mordheim, still a very popular game. 2025 is going to be a big year for Trench Crusade. It's going to be releasing. The Kickstarter for it has earned over $1 million, not $1 million, $3 million so far, with over 20,000 people throwing money at this. It's going to be big, and I think 2025 is going to be a big year for just skirmish games in general. There's a lot of new ones coming out, but I think Trench Crusade is going to be leading the charge as far as skirmish tabletop war games. So Trench Crusade is set in an alternate history World War I. It takes place in 1914, and the premise of it is that back in the Crusades, 13th century, I think, the Crusaders opened up a gate to hell, and demons and other creatures came through, and the Crusaders lost that war, and the hell minions are still at large on Earth 500-600 years later, and it is now the time of World War I, and fighting these creatures and everything takes place on 3 foot by 3 foot play area in the trenches of World War I. So to start the build off, I took some pieces of 1-inch thick plain old white styrofoam that I had and glued them together with hot glue. Measured out the width that I wanted and just used my hot wire cutter to cut the pieces out. Most of the materials I used in this build were scavenged materials, stuff that I found or had lying around. I'm always on the lookout for things I can use in my builds. So styrofoam, cardboard, egg cartons, sticks and twigs and branches, root bundles, interesting looking rocks that I find outside, leaves, anything like that. It saves on costs, and really the only things I used in this build that I actually paid for were the brushes, the paints, Mod Podge, and the super glue, and the hobby knives and things like that, the actual tools. The materials I used was just all found stuff. So here I am, I'm just cutting out some interesting little divots and terrain features, just trying to give what's going to be the tops of these trench walls some interesting features. Time to make some texture paste. I used some sand that I found outside, Mod Podge, these really kind of cheap acrylic paints. I wound up adding a lot more to this mixture. The brown was not dark enough, so I did wind up using some black paint in there, and just spreading it all over the whole thing, Go. I did find out that it was a lot easier to do with my finger rather than the spatula, so that's what I did for the rest. Now I'm cutting out sections of cardboard that I'm going to use to create essentially giant corrugated steel walls. And all I did here was just rip off one side of the cardboard to expose that wavy middle section. So, in my haste to get this done, I got all excited about having made the texture paste and putting it on. I covered the tops and all of the sides on 4 of the pieces and still had the 3 biggest ones yet to go when I ran out of my texture paste. And I had no more dirt or anything to make more because we've had a lot of rain and snow lately, and it's just very muddy and wet outside, and I wasn't going to be able to just go out and grab some. So I realized what I should have done was put the wooden cardboard on the sides first, and then just texture paste at the tops. I would have had plenty. So all is not lost. I will get the other 3 pieces set up. And it's been dry for the past day and a half, and there are some patches out there where there's some drier dirt. So I'll grab some more of that, and I should be able to make some more paste. And these, while these look like really ugly chocolate cakes right now, I have some ideas for how to make them look a little bit more believable instead of just like very unappetizing desserts. So while I think about what I'm going to do for these, I'm going to finish prepping these, making my paste and getting it on those. And by the time I have that done, I should be able to move on to these. So learning from your mistakes, right? So, you know, and just nothing is unsalvageable, you know. So I have a few ideas for how I can make these a little bit better and a little bit more realistic, I suppose. And that's kind of like the idea, is making unrealistic things look real in miniature. So let's keep going. So now I've just taken some coffee stirrers, which again, I didn't pay for. I went to my local convenience store where they sell some really excellent coffee. And I kind of sort of, you know, I'm a regular there, kind of knew the manager. So I asked her, I said, hey, you know, can I like buy a box of coffee stirrers? And she just gave it to me. So lucky me. Gluing them on now to represent planks, holding up those dirt walls. In a real world World War I, the majority of the trenches were just bare earth. I mean, I did some research into looking in photographs to what these looked like. And it was the majority of it was like bare earth. And what they did use to hold up parts of the trenches that may have fallen down were, you know, wattle or logs. You really didn't, of course, you didn't see any corrugated steel at all. This is a stylistic choice. And you certainly really didn't see some nice wood planks. So here I'm just painting the cardboard bits with Mod Podge and some dark steel Tamiya metallic paint. I did do 2 coats on all of these cardboard pieces because these trench walls, they're going to get used, they're going to get banged around, and I wanted to make sure that the cardboard had a nice protective coat. I had taken chunks out of some of the dirt to add some, you know, battle damage interest, and created a kind of brownish wash to go over the wood. And I think you're going to see, once I put this color, I don't know, man, I like really dug it. Put this color on and then a black wash over it, and man, I just really liked the color and the effect of it. So I'm going to remember that for like other projects. Later on, I do go over the wood again with kind of a dark gray dry brush to give the wood a more weathered look. But without that weathered gray on there, I really like the color. You can see how it looks. It does take on a more darker, almost mahogany shade with the black wash on it. It's really nice. I tried to be creative in putting the cardboard and the wood on there, so there's like a lot of broken pits, broken pieces, exposed dirt. Just wanted to just create as much visual interest on these things as possible. And you can see here that this black wash is a wash that I made. It's, I believe it was a formula from Black Magic Craft that I modified a little bit. And honestly, I gotta make some more. It's just paint, water, and dish soap. Maybe a few other things, some different colors. I think there's a little bit of green in there, black. So for dry brushing the dirt bits, I thought I was going to be clever, and I really then didn't like the way this came out. So this reddish color I thought was going to be a lot duller than it actually was. The ochre that I used I thought was going to be a lot yellow than it was, and you'll see here in a sec how these came out. I wasn't too happy with the color choices, so after I just decided to do them all in these colors that I didn't like, and then I went over them all again with the black wash to dull it down. That way, rather than trying to fix my painting mistake, I made the mistake on all of the pieces and then did a uniform correction over all of them so that they now have the same look to them all. It was a little bit of an extra step, but in the end, I think they came out looking pretty good. You can see a little bit there on the cardboard when I did the red color. I did take a little bit of extra and dry brushed on the lower halves of that to make give it kind of like a rusted effect to it. Now, the trenches in World War I did not look like this at all, like I was saying before. If you look at a cross-section of the trench, they kind of look like an inverted step pyramid. Narrowest point down at the bottom, which was just barely wide enough for one person to walk through, and then steps leading to the widest point being the top of the trench. The bottoms of the trenches were almost always full of mud and water, hence, trench foot. And then the steps could be used to store munitions, other supplies, places for soldiers to sit. Here I'm just taking some Iraqi sand and doing a light dry brush over all of it, just to kind of make the highest levels of the texture kind of pop out a little bit more. So yeah, what we're making here is we're making trenches to work for a game that look real, but actually don't represent what the trenches were really like in World War I. But that's okay. We're making stuff for games. We're not making stuff for, realistic dioramas. And here's where I am putting on that, I think it was Dirty Cloak or Dirty Cape from Army Painter. It's the color I chose. It's just to kind of like weather that wood down a little bit. I was thinking when I was making these, J.R.R. Tolkien, when he started to write his Middle-earth mythos, it was during World War I, and I wondered what a young author and linguist, what kind of fantasy world would he have come up with in the Trench Crusade setting, where you've got monsters and demons as your reality. What would a person like that come up with? My mind wanders a lot when I'm doing this because, painting on a little bit of brown paint along the bottoms of these things to make them look dirty, it's kind of, you really don't got to think about what you're doing. And because I have ADHD, my mind goes all kinds of different places when sometimes it should be focusing on the here and now. Well, there you have it. Trench walls for Trench Crusade, or really any other game that you want to use them for. Like I said, I tried to be as generic as possible with these, and I'll probably make a few more of them just to fill out that space. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Follow my links in the episode description to my Patreon, TikTok, and all those other thingamajiggies. And We will see you again next Tuesday for start of a new series. Should be a little bit exciting. All right. Thanks. Have a great day, everybody.